Welcome back to another episode of Beyond Giving, the best nonprofit podcast on the Boost Network, sponsored by Nonprofits HQ. I'm Zac, the nonprofit guy, and today we've got a cool conversation with Youth Business Services, an organization that's empowering youth entrepreneurs. So we're here with another episode of Beyond Giving, speaking with Youth Business Services. And so we've got Rosie, Joseph, and Bernadette here, the masterminds behind this amazing organization that is teaching entrepreneurial skills to students and providing them with the resources they need to really build and scale their organization. So let's kind of spend a couple of minutes talking about like your backgrounds and what you were doing before YBS and what kind of led into that. Sounds good?
Sure. Absolutely. So I am Rosie Baumgartner. I am a former educator, spent about 30 years working in the field of education in many different capacities. And it's during this time as a school teacher that in working with students, I came to realize the significance that simply having a belief in one's capabilities, in addition to that self-confidence, self-esteem, there's another foundational concept known as self-efficacy that I feel is something that students definitely need to have within themselves so that they believe that they can achieve. And so as an educator, I have seen firsthand that when they believe in themselves, anything is possible. And so this is where I thankfully joined forces with Joseph, and he invited me into getting this program going because, you have the idea, you may have the skills, but do we have the belief to make it happen? And that's sort of where it all begins. And so that is where my background comes in, and hopefully will help these children, these new entrepreneurs, believe in their capabilities to achieve many, many wonderful things.
That's such an important part too, having the belief and the confidence that this idea that you have, whether you have all the resources or not, that you can actually execute on this and you can make it something. So that's really cool.
Exactly.
And how about you, Joseph?
Well, I'm Joseph Treviño. I'm the founder of Youth Business Solutions. I created this to inspire and empower these youth business owners of tomorrow that they can do it. I support any organization, whether it's us or other organizations that want to empower youth to do better by their lives. So you have to surround yourself with an amazing team, experts in their fields, people that want to give back and have the passion. And being taken into a school district this year, it's a big challenge. That's where we met at an incubator program at Comal ISD. I was honored to go back there. And my goal is to take this statewide. And from the speed that we picked up in the last few weeks, it looks like we're going in that direction.
Yeah, that's awesome. And while you're kind of structuring this organization, I guess you're using a lot of the same principles that you're going to be teaching these students, right?
Absolutely.
You're starting YBS. Who do you need in place? Who can help you move your mission along? So that's actually really cool that you're kind of creating the model of what you're teaching in these schools.
Well, we have a very structured 8-module program. And that's what it takes, is the right structure. When you surround yourself with a former educator who has 30 plus years of experience, she knows how to help me put it together. I have an amazing bookkeeper, which you'll hear from here in a minute. But we're here to support the future of tomorrow, whether it's us or any other organization out there. I was part of another organization. It's an amazing concept. We all have the same goal and vision, is to empower the youth of tomorrow to be successful.
Absolutely. And then, so Bernadette, we know you're a bookkeeper.
Yeah.
So how did that kind of tie into your relationship with YBS, and what really motivated you to kind of join the organization and help kind of spearhead it?
Well, I've been in this for 20 years and I've seen all the mistakes you can make as a business. And, just got with Joseph and we started talking and talking about the importance of bookkeeping and how it structures your company. And so being a light bulb came in and we're like, well, we need to educate people about this, from the beginning, instead of going through all the mistakes as a business. And so we can teach them and put that in there before,
Yeah, absolutely. And like financials is also one of the areas where a lot of it's so important, but it's also kind of the least prioritized thing when you're first starting your company. I know when we first started our company, and we talked about this a little bit the other day, we bought QuickBooks. We don't need any more than that, right? But you really do. There's so much more into it, and those are incredibly important skills. So we know where you guys kind of came from and how you came together for YBS, but what is Youth Business Services? How does it work and what does it do for the students?
Well, it's a tool that I created that's going to give them the power to be in control of their lives. A lot of kids out there, I've talked with a lot of kids in the last few months, they have amazing ideas, amazing, great ideas that can change the world. Some of these kids that I've spoken to, I'm very impressed. You never know that a 14, 15-year-old had these kind of creative ideas. And when they go, well, nobody believes in me, when they put it on paper and they actually read it and see it for themselves, that's a powerful tool. So our goal is to give them the other tools in the toolbox to be successful businessmen, men and women, to be in control of their lives, but we teach them the rules. They have to understand there's rules that go along with business, just like in life. And you have to follow them. And we cover every aspect of it. The 8 modules that we bring in are very structured to teach them those concepts of business. Operational plans, financial literacy, as you said, is the biggest key to this. They have to understand their finances. They just don't go, oh, I made some money, I'm going to go spend it. No, you have to know how much your product costs, how much your production costs, how much it costs to ship it, how much it costs to package it. And we teach them those. Then you have the legal compliance that comes into all this. They have to know there's a lot of legalities that go into this. You own a business, you have your EINs, you answer to the federal government, you do your LLCs, you have to justify keeping it. And that's where the record keeping comes in, but that's where the educational part of it comes in. That's why I'm honored to have Rosie as my educator. I tell you're my education director. She's key on this because I'm going to be honest. I sent her stuff and she's red penned it like a teacher, and I fixed it.
Nice.
So I'm grateful. But then I bring Bernadette in, who every aspect of business, from your business planning, financials, marketing, programming, every strategy in the 8 modules we have has to do with bookkeeping. You have to know how to keep notes. You have to know how to have a plan in place. So they come and go, hey, you're spending money here. Where's it at? Okay. Well, you got to know where your financials are at. Okay. Well, you're dealing with so many shipping companies. Do you know who they are? Well, that's where you got bookkeeping that comes in place with that. And
categorizing everything and making sure that it goes in the right places.
Absolutely. And that's so tedious, but so important.
Yeah.
Categorization and really understanding how money's flowing.
If I may add to what your question was regarding what is our mission and what we're doing, going back to at least my personal educational background, I know growing up, in middle school, high school, I had amazing teachers, but I did not have counselors coming up to me. You need to get a degree. I think you would make a great, teacher. I think here's an opportunity for you. Unfortunately, I was not geared in that direction through my schooling. Thankfully, I did have parents who were very, very central on getting an education. And so part of what we aim to do is to kind of bridge that gap, because where our students, yes, I'm sure in today's world, they are getting that support in the schools and they're being exposed to different opportunities. We are here to then kind of bridge that gap between a dream they have, their schooling, they're finishing that schooling. We're kind of like the guide on the side, if you will. And we're going to guide them through every single step. And we will be here to answer their questions. And we will be bringing in mentors and real life experiences so that they have those resources available to them. So it's kind of providing a means to an end to help you achieve that dream. And I think Joseph explained it beautifully. He's aligned himself well with people he feels will help and contribute to that mission. And we work beautifully together, which is in itself, as you said, we're setting up an excellent model for the children, because that is a big part of success. It's in the world of teaching, we say you have the science of teaching. I know my content. I know it well. Yes, I'm very good with the red pen. But then you have the art of teaching, those personal skills, those relational skills, building relationship with those students. And that's a key component. And so Joseph and Bernadette and myself work extremely well together. And those are the skills, not only, sometimes they're known as the soft skills, but we're going to do, the technical skills of the business, but also those interpersonal skills. And that's the beauty of how we work. We revise, we edit, we create, we make it better. We take classes, we, interact with others. what can I learn from you to make what we're doing even better? Because ultimately it's whatever helps these children succeed and making their dream come true.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's so important too, because, starting a company is hard, right? It's very hard. And so I've often said in various interviews and public speaking that building startups just sucks, right? It's super hard. It can be very lonely, but if you ask almost any founder that's out there building something, it's the most rewarding, most impactful thing that they've ever done. And so it sounds like you guys are kind of providing this framework, providing these resources to help these students achieve the most impactful thing that they may have ever done. And that's super cool. One of the things that I wanted to kind of dig into, Rosie, is your background in education probably positions youth business services in a really unique way to actually understand how to integrate with these school programs and fill in those gaps with students. A lot of programs that are similar to this don't necessarily have that insight. And so you have varying degrees of success with those programs. So I'd be interested in understanding a little bit how you're applying your background to the core curriculum and to how you are actually teaching these lessons and providing these resources for the students.
Well, I think you hit on one of the key words, curriculum. The foundation is that framework, which is what Joseph has worked very, very hard to create these eight modules. And Bernadette and I come in, the right-hand man, the left-hand man, and he sends everything to us. Take a look at it, edit it, make it better. What do we need to change? What do we need to do?
They're full autonomy to change whatever they want.
Absolutely.
They can change it as they see it. It needs to be changed. And I respect that. But it takes a team.
Absolutely.
We all have to have our hands in it for it to be different. If they don't like it, I tell them, change it. You don't have to call me and say, hey, can we? No, change it. I want it changed. Because that's the only way we're going to get better as a team.
Absolutely. And the background in education, we know when you're presenting a lesson, there's got to be that engagement piece. You've got to capture their attention. Your students' attention has gone from, where I could capture their attention with a lecture for an hour now because of, the technology world, we need to make lessons much more interactive, much more engaging.
Absolutely.
And so, that's what we're bringing in. Joseph has done an amazing job of incorporating a lot of what do you call that? Experiential learning.
Yes.
If you can talk a little bit about that, that is what we're adding to the component to make it so much more meaningful for the children, impactful and interactive for them.
Because we put it in an understand that for them to understand it. Now let's face it. A lot of people go out and they talk to kids and they think everybody's got this great college education. Well, these are kids. So we have to put it in, structure it in a way that they understand that it's not difficult, but we always encourage them to ask questions. Come to us and ask them. I'm one of the things we're going to require when I bring in speakers this coming year. I'm going to put 4 panels together this year to be presented at all the Comal County ISD high schools. And I'm going to require my kids to ask at least a minimum of 5 questions. And they have to. And the only bad question is the one you don't ask.
Absolutely.
And we want you to ask questions, not just of the panelists, but of us, but of the instructors, the professionals that I'm bringing in. I want them to question, Bernadette, why bookkeeping is so important of every piece of this module. I mean, and I told Bernadette that it's very important that they understand the principles of bookkeeping, just like they understand the principles of presentation. How do you present it? And that's one of the keys in our 8th module is we teach them how to present their programs. We record them. We let them watch their video, watch your expressions. You're selling yourself. It's like an interview.
Absolutely.
You go, you do an interview. You're marketing yourself. You're selling yourself as a product. If you're selling your business, it's the same thing. There's no difference. But surrounding your team with those that have that specialty, that key element, the curriculum, it's amazing.
Absolutely.
I mean, I've shared it with you. I've shared it with Comal ISD, and everybody loves it.
And one of the things that I wanted to kind of highlight, and then I want to kind of dig into the accounting part of this.
Yeah.
We all agree that it's important, but actually why? Why is it so important, right? But before we do that, one of the things that you said was that you expect people to ask questions. I think that's such an important part of anything we do, whether it's at work, whether it's at a company we work at or a company we built, or in general life. I worked for this company where asking why was a dangerous question, right? It's a dangerous thing. And that happens often in corporate environments. But the way I look at it, if somebody doesn't know something, the only way they can know something or understand something is by questioning it.
Mhm.
Even if you agree with something, but you don't necessarily understand why we're taking that direction or why that's the next strategy step, question it, because what that does is drives alignment, right?
Mhm.
It allows us to explain what we're trying to accomplish out of this, to align our teams on goals, and it creates a much more collaborative environment. And I think that's incredibly important. And I think that's probably one of the bigger differentiators between your program and a lot of the other programs that I've seen. You're teaching that mindset to where it's okay to ask questions. It's okay to find the information that you're looking for, changing the way people think about approaching business, approaching work life.
And if I can expand on the question and answer, because right, so she and I think it's
Yeah.
so we meet
That's
a
what makes it a
lot,
good
either over lunch or whenever we meet a lot to work on all of this. And that was one of our initial brainstorming sessions with, okay, these children need to learn the art of asking questions. And I used to teach the art of Socratic seminars
Okay.
with Socrates and his whole, Socratic seminars teaches a way of thinking for deeper understanding. And in order to get deeper understanding, you start asking questions. And so we talked about, those reporter questions when children, start asking questions to these mentors. We need to move beyond the what question. I want you to ask, who's going to help me? What is my idea? Why do I want to do this? Where do I want to implement this idea? How am I going to make it happen? So he said, who, what, where, when, why questions. And Bernadette and I have that similar, even though our backgrounds are very different. What we're doing is creating something that's very creative, but very structured. And this is where Bernadette's expertise comes in, because her area of expertise is that accounting piece. But that involves a lot of structure. And so that is how we complement each other, is that, there's the creative piece that we all have.
Mm-hmm.
She has tremendous skill in, structuring things and asking the right questions. So definitely Bernadette on that one.
Yeah. I am all about asking questions. And as a child, you say that in the corporate industries that you were in, the big thing was not to ask why. Well, I was suppressed with asking why also. And now, like, as I have children, I'm like, ask me the questions 1,000 times so you can learn it and get that experience. But yeah, accounting part, I don't know.
It's the structure of all of that, the way the
It's a formula.
Yes,
It's a formula. I think that all of it is a formula, and it's just combined well together. But the accounting part, like all of it, is basically checks and balances, which they've taken out of schools. Because I remember back in the day, we used to have a checkbook and check and balance, and we don't have that anymore. And I think
like physically logging.
yeah, check and balance on a checkbook. They don't know how to do that now. Now they just rely on your bank statements and like, okay, stuff has come out and stuff has come in, but we need to organize and categorize all of those things and see what's really happening. We need all of those things even to get a loan. To get a business loan, you have to have your check and balances and your profit and loss and all of that.
When you're building a business, it's like building a home. You have to have a solid foundation. Your solid foundation comes from your bookkeeping, comes from your understanding of what you're going to spend to put that foundation together, what the rebar costs, what the twist wires cost, what the concrete costs, what the labor costs. That's the foundation, but it feeds into everything in business.
Absolutely.
I mean,
and then so when you're talking, you guys say that accounting and bookkeeping is an important part, and you demonstrate that by looking at your curriculum, right? You have an entire module on that specific piece. So what does that kind of module look like for the students, and what are you walking them through? What are the most important skills around bookkeeping for students to learn? I know that's a huge topic, right? So how are you narrowing that down into these chunks of education for student entrepreneurs?
Oh my goodness, from accounts receivable to assets and the equity and all of the things that go into, how do you say, categorizing and making sure that everything is coming out correctly step by step. And actually some of the verbiage, like if you go through the business aspect of it, some people are not going to understand that opening a business, all of the complicated wording in there. So basically we're doing it where they will understand, instead of the whole technical part of it, the easy parts of it, like checks and balances and debit and credits and assets and equity and stuff like that. But breaking it down to an easier level to where people who are not going to business school actually can understand it.
Yep.
You
Yeah.
know?
That's key, right? There's so much, like you said, complexity in the way things are worded, in the processes. And you can go to any incubator or accelerator and they'll talk about all of these things using jargon and using processes that are very
Yeah.
industry specific. But that's not helpful unless you actually know what they're talking about. And then I would question, if you already know what they're talking about, why are you there? It needs to be broken down very
And that's
simplistically.
why our program is 100% hands-on. You have to write everything. I'm going to give you printouts. We're going to provide printouts, but you're going to have to fill in all the blanks.
I
And that's the
definitely
key
need
to
it
it.
simple.
Simple, like overcomplicating things makes building businesses harder.
It
It
does.
makes
does.
scaling harder. It makes
Yeah.
everything harder. Make it as simple as possible. Don't try to be clever in what you're doing, right? Just understand what your goals are and use all of these resources as tools to accomplish those. And the way you do that is with simplicity. And now, Joseph, so this is a topic that I'm super passionate about, and I know you folks are as well. But why are you going into schools with this program? Why is Youth Business Services focused on reaching students at those younger age instead of maybe when they're in college, like a lot of programs? Or why is going into high school so important?
Because I want to tackle it at the base of the foundation. Yes, when you get into college, you kind of have a mindset of where you want to go. But for me, a lot of kids that are in high school aren't going to make it to college. They don't want to go to college. They think it's a long, drawn-out process. They think it's going to be complicated. But the way we've structured our program, it gives them the opportunity to be that youth leader of tomorrow. There's a lot of 18, 19-year-old kids out there that are very successful. I mean, I know a group of young men, they make very good money just doing lawn service. Now, when you give them the right tools in the toolbox, that's what this is. Our program is a toolbox for your business. But we explain it and we put it in a way and structure our curriculum to where they understand it, but we want them to come back and ask questions. And that's what makes us different. And if they want to go to college, by all means go, but we've already started, as you say, the foundation of business. They have the basic understanding. Now, there's a lot more technical that goes into it. We just had this conversation the other day. I receive a lot of material from some of the other universities here in the state of Texas, but it gets more into the technical, further deep into the higher level of education, where we're doing the basic business planning. But they have the basic understanding, but that's where the questions come in. That's why we want questions. The who, the what, the why. It is why we do this. You know?
And the things that you're teaching, whether you go off and start a business, whether you build an empire or you go into some other career path or whatever, the things that you're teaching are also applicable outside of directly entrepreneurship, right? So they're useful skills regardless of the path the student chooses to take or whatever. They're just a little more well-equipped to determine what that path
They
is.
can either own and run a business, or they can teach someone how to run that business, or they can go in partnership with somebody else who doesn't have that knowledge. So we're giving them tools, you know, and I got to tell you, I inspire any organization, doesn't matter who it is. If you want to back the future of these kids, then do it, because they are the future of tomorrow. But they want to own businesses. And let's face it, a lot of people think, oh, my kids are going to go to college. They're going to go to, it's not, that's not the reality of the world.
Mm-hmm. And
college is expensive. Education is expensive. It's very expensive. But if we give them the tools necessary to run a business, they can start a business, have it running, and then go to college because they've built money on themselves.
Definitely. And then come out the other side without a bunch of student debt or whatever. I went to a semester of college and then I built a company instead, right? And so every path is different. And if you can equip, we didn't have programs like what you guys are talking about when I went to school. We didn't have this idea of, going out. One of the cool things that I think comes out of a lot of entrepreneurship conversations is the ability to generate whatever level of income that you want, right? So if you want to make, $2 million a year as a CEO, you have the power to go build a company that's generating enough revenue to pay you that, right? Being able to create your path forward is such a powerful thing. And the fact that we can teach students that now through programs like YBS is amazing. Now, one of the things that you had said, and you've said this a couple of times, and I think Bernadette, you had mentioned this as well, talking about preparing things for ingesting like non-dilutive capital through like lending, or things like that. You said a lot of the bookkeeping really supports those loan applications. That's such a contrast to what we often hear about startups, and that's you have to raise. And I firmly disagree with this entire concept of you can't do anything unless you go talk to a venture capitalist or you talk to an investor, and you have to do that to move forward. That's such a contrast to what entrepreneurs often hear. You have this idea, you need to go find someone to fund your idea before you can do anything. So how come you guys take that more pragmatic approach of getting started and then looking at other, like you haven't mentioned investment at all, right? You've talked about these non-dilutive capital practices. So your program really positions students to start building, start getting things in place. How come you've taken such a different approach to what we typically consider entrepreneurship programs?
For us, the way I look at it is part of our entrepreneur mentorship program that we've put together is I put you together with an entrepreneur that's made it, been to the top, but you're going to learn from their real struggles. And a lot of the entrepreneurs that are successful, some are Fortune 500 companies, CEOs that I've been in contact with the last month, that says, hey, if they come and they mentor with me, I'll help fund them. I'll get them a grant. And that's what we're looking at is the community helping the community. Because right now with the way the current economics in the country are, it's difficult for them to get grants and loans. And I work with the SBA. I'm working with Renee Watson. I know Ines Stepanek with the US SBA. We work together. We met her at Launch SA together. But there's other avenues because those companies that I've heard, I mean, I wish we had a program like this. I wish somebody, when we were kids and starting out, that somebody took me and says, hey, let me teach you about business. And then they go, well, they come and they mentor with me for 3 to 6 months. I'll give them a grant, whether it's 10,000, 15, 20, that's all they need is that step forward. But with that check comes the knowledge that we teach them.
Absolutely.
And like I said, not just us, there's other organizations out there that want to do it. And I support them 100%. And if there's anything we can do to assist those other organizations that want to do this, I'm game because it's going to take a village. That's why I've surrounded myself with the key professionals that I know are very strong in their fields. But that's the thing is we get them away from the government side of it where there's private investors, entrepreneurs that are watching this video right now that want to help because they're saying, man, I never had that. Nobody ever took me when I was trying to start out. I fell, I stumbled, I lost money. I wondered how I was going to get it back, and I did it on my own. Well, we want them to come share those experiences.
Absolutely.
I want them to reach out to us, reach out to myself, to Rosie, to Bernadette, and say, hey, I want to be on a panel. If I put 20 people on a stage on a panel, trust me, I'm going to have all 20 get questions because that's what it takes. Knowledge is power.
Absolutely.
I mean, that's, I don't care what kind of company or who you are, how much money you have. You didn't get that way unless you had the knowledge.
Absolutely. And you mentioned that a lot of people are saying things like, I wish we had a program like this. I wish we had this when I was building, or I wish we had this when I was in school. And that's so true. And I think it's important to also understand that wishing that is not enough, right? It is our responsibility to build the ecosystem, to build the foundations, to build the programs that we wish we had when we were building for the next generation of entrepreneurs. And that's why I think getting involved with organizations like Youth Business Services is the way to do that. Are you a successful founder? Can you lend some time to mentor? Can you lend some capital when it's necessary? Can you, whatever these areas are. And with that, what are some of the areas that people can get involved in YBS? What is it that you're looking for?
We're looking for mentors. We're looking for organizations to allow us to come into their house with a group of kids and sit there for a couple hours and show them this is what business is really about. Not what you see on TV. not what you get.
You mean Shark Tank and TechCrunch articles aren't real?
Yeah, I mean, but the thing is, but there's the reality of it because you're not there. My goal is to work with organizations, bring those kids into your house, as I like to say. Like I say, this is your house. We're here. We respect your house. But there are rules that go along with running a house. And those are the things these kids need to know. They need to know, hey, when you struggled, when you started, Zac, how difficult it was when you thought you weren't going to make it to get the belief back in yourself that you could actually do this. Can I do this? And it's not just yourself. You got your friends or somebody else that's with you, and you're going, damn, they're dependent on me. How did you get through that?
Yep.
When you fell, when you had nothing, you were about to lose everything. What tools did you have that you were able to use those strategies to restructure what you're doing today?
And when you inevitably fall again, when you have those doubts
You're gonna
again,
fall.
you're going to continue to make mistakes. You're going to continue to have those doubts. Why did I start doing this? Wait, how am I actually going to get us to these target revenues? These people that are depending on me, am I actually able to do this? And so having the tools to get past that.
And that's, if I may get back to the comment you made about, a wish. I've heard a quote somewhere where it said something to the effect of, a wish without a plan or an idea without a plan is just a wish. Whether it comes true or not, we don't know, which is why, again, what we're creating is a plan, if you will, a framework, if you will, a step-by-step guide. Because one of the most discouraging thing for entrepreneurs, whether they be young or older adult, is getting information, connecting with people. How do I do this? Where can I find this? That can be very discouraging, and not a lot of people are willing to share. We've learned, and that's understandable. And we get that. That being the case, like Joseph just said, we all have an enormous wealth of knowledge and expertise. Why not share it? It's like with me, what's the next step now? It's like, well, there's so much I want to share and so much that I still have to say about empowering students, about helping them feel confident about what you want to achieve. How can I go about making this happen? And then I meet Joseph at a networking event, and then we had similar backgrounds and similar interests and similar passions. And then he introduced me to Bernadette. And that's when, this all sort of came together. Joseph had already been working on this prior. But my point being is that we're there to provide that assistance to prevent that, like you just said, why am I doing this? This is just too much trouble. We will provide those supports, that information through these 8 modules so that they are well equipped to continue moving forward. So,
yeah, that's so amazing. And that really does, like you guys have all said, sets the foundation for successful entrepreneurship. And so you are launching in a program with Comal ISD, which is a local school district here. What does the future look like for YBS? Once you complete this program, are you going into other schools? Are you going into other areas? What does that look like?
My goal is to use what we do at Comal ISD as a learning tool for us. Because every time when you start something new, you're going to have your hiccups. You're going to restructure things after this year. But I'm a true believer that the plan that we have brought together between the 3 of us is a very viable product, because there's a lot of kids out there that are turning to the streets, and we don't want that. Use your business idea, use your knowledge. Let's get you off that structure. Let's get you off the street. Let's teach you something that's going to make you a person who's going to give back to society instead of taking. I learned a long time ago, when you care about the neighborhood you came from, you won't come back and destroy it. And that's what a lot of these kids, they have nothing to lean on. They have nobody that believes in what they say. Oh, that's an idea. It's just dumb. Just go get a job. Go to McDonald's. Go work here.
God, I've heard that so many times.
And that's the thing. It's like I said. It's like Rosie said. In our program, when you fall, and you're going to fall, I tell people like this all the time. But then one thing with the YBS is we're going to reach a hand out. We're going to pick you up, and we're going to find out where you're at. And now it's one of the requirements of our program. Is you're going to keep a business diary as well as a personal diary. And I say the personal diary because of Rosie's background. She can then look at it. Where are you struggling? Where could we help you get a little bit of help? And that's where one of the pieces that I'm going to bring into this is the youth mental health. I'm working with a couple of organizations to see how we could combine this together. But it's not just to help the youth in our program. You can't fix one without fixing the mom and dad, because that's a solid foundation. And that's the key to this, is we're doing everything that we feel needs to be done with our backgrounds, our knowledge. And I have history in education. Rosie's in education. Bernadette, bookkeeping is an art.
I know numbers more than anything.
I mean, but that's the key to this is
Right.
we're here to help. We're here to provide. And it's not just to the kids. If I had a parent that comes to me and says, hey, I have a business idea, I want to, why not? Yes, our program is from 14 to 21. Like I said, there's a lot of things that a lot of adults that are in business today that I've told them, you can have a DBA at 14. What are you talking about? We didn't know that. You can have an EIN. I didn't know that. You can actually have a business account. And the difference is you're not a personal account. You have to have a parent. A business account, you don't, because it's a business.
Yep, absolutely.
And those are the things we teach them. That's where the legal and compliance side of this comes in. We teach them the legalities of a business. There's a lot. You can't just go take money out of the register and go to McDonald's and buy it. It just doesn't work that way.
I've seen that. I've seen all kinds of things in companies, how they just pull out, and I'm like, I advise you not to do it, and this is gonna be the outcome. And then they come back, and I'm like, I don't want to say I told you so.
Absolutely, yeah.
But it happens, and there's priorities when it comes to where your money's supposed to go.
But we're going to bring in a lot of professionals. We're going to bring in SBA folks. We're going to bring in e-commerce folks. We're going to bring in attorneys. We're going to bring in successful entrepreneurs. I know a couple of people that have lost money and lost everything. And I want them to come tell these stories because these are real people.
Absolutely.
And that's the key to it.
And you can learn those lessons without experiencing that problem or experiencing that particular fall.
Or even then, if you do fall, you've heard it from somebody who actually got back out.
Yep, absolutely. Definitely. And so you should leverage the experience of everybody around you to help make the best. That's exactly why we work in teams, right? Because everybody has a different background, experienced opinion, and you may not find the perfect path forward, but you use all of that together to find a path forward. Forward progress is important. And so before we wrap up, I want to take a second to get one golden piece of advice from each of you that you would give to a student entrepreneur that's sitting in front of you right now, right? What would that advice be? Bernadette,
that your idea is valid, and no matter how much the struggle, you can just get back up and do it all over again, and we will be there to help. I think that I've done it enough, and I've struggled and as a business owner myself, and heard people like, oh, don't do that, like they were saying earlier, but I think your idea is valid. Like, you should move forward.
Rosie?
Sure. I'm going to say that, kind of like Bernadette, that what you have to share with the world is important. It matters. It's valuable. So depend and rely on that inner strength and unlock that potential that you have to make something real happen for yourself, for others. And yes, you're going to have bumps in the road. You may have potholes in the roads. You may have roads that completely are broken. However, stay the course, persevere, ask for help. One of the bravest things you could ever say is help. And again, stay the course, persevere, and you can make things happen for yourself.
Well, I'm going to leave everybody with this. We all hear 3 words in business. You're going to fail. To me, fail means first attempt in learning. You're going to have people that come to you and say, well, this is the end. It's not the end. End to me, effort never dies. And when you hear no means next opportunity. So we can't give up. We're not going to give up on you. Don't give up on yourself. Anything we can do as a unit, as a team, this team is here for everybody out there, young, old, in between, doesn't matter to us. You want to have a business, call us. We're here to help.
All such amazing advice and such powerful and important for entrepreneurs to have. So where can people learn more about Youth Business Services and learn how to get involved?
Well, they can reach out to us right now. We're in the process of building a website, like I told you. They can send me an email, jtreviñoconsulting@gmail.com. Once they send that to me, I will forward them Bernadette and Rosie's emails as well. And then they can reach out to us anytime. We have an introduction letter out there that I've shared with you. You're welcome to share it with the community out there. I mean, you're welcome to post it and say, here's a little bit of backstory about them. Our emails are on there.
Cool. And what's that website?
We're working on the website name right now, but it'll be a Youth Business Solutions website.
Okay,
And
awesome.
once that's done, we'll provide you. It should be up within the next few weeks. Like I said, we've been so focused on the curriculum right now. But I'm going to be working with Bernadette. I'm going to be working with Sharkmatic as well to see what we can get done here real quick.
Okay, awesome. This will likely air after your website is launched,
That's right.
but we don't know what the domain's going to be yet.
Not yet.
Okay.
But if we have, it's going to be a couple of weeks. I think I can get with Howie and see how fast we can get it up and running.
It's just come so fast.
Yeah, for sure.
So, our idea, just like everyone, our idea came together, and it's like, let's just do it. And we did. And
Because I didn't expect for Comal to say, hey, we want you on the schools like next week. I'm like, wait a minute. So we got on the 15th. We got to Southwest Texas State up in San Marcos. We're going to an event. And then the opening of the district is August 27th. And then we start roughly 2 weeks after that. We're in the business classes.
Yeah, we went to a thing yesterday for the Boys and Girls Club.
Yep.
Nice.
As soon as we were introduced, we just got like the whole one side of the
room just came over and wanted to know
to
everything
us,
about
and
us, so.
trying to be a part of it.
Yeah, that's
It's
stuff's super
amazing.
important too. Thank you guys so much for joining us on Beyond Giving. This has been an amazing conversation. I really love the mission of Youth Business Services and the effort that you folks are putting into building the next generation of entrepreneurs. For our viewers, you can learn more about Youth Business Services by connecting with them through emails and socials and links that we'll post along with this episode. Thanks for coming, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks so much for tuning in to another episode of Beyond Giving, the best nonprofit podcast on the Boost Network, sponsored by Nonprofits HQ. This episode has been all about empowering youth entrepreneurs through Youth Business Services in schools. They don't currently have a website now. Like all things that are new, they've got to iterate and build. But as soon as that's available, it'll be available in the show notes where you can connect with them, engage, and learn how you can get involved.